like to make sure you guys, get in at it.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So as some of you know, my name is Miss Andrawis. You can call me Miss A. And I just started here at Loyola in January, and I'm one of the AP World teachers. So I'm going to start out today by giving you guys some information about multiple choice and SAQ strategies. Some of this you may have heard before. Some of it you may have heard in a different way or a different version. And sometimes hearing it from a different teacher explained in a different way is helpful. So just bear with me. I'm going to try to make this as interactive as possible because, as my students know, I hate doing lectures, so I try to avoid them most of the time. So can anybody tell me how many multiple choice there are on the test? In the back. 55. And how many minutes? Anybody? 55 minutes. So approximately how long should you be spending on each question? About a minute.
55 minutes.
Nice. Very good. Of course, there are documents involved. So on those questions where you are reading the documents, you're probably going to spend more time than on questions where you've already read the document and you're just answering from memory. Okay. This portion of the test is 40% of your overall score. So it's very significant. It is the single largest most portion of the exam. All right. So who knows the very first thing you do when you approach a multiple choice set? Raise your hand if you could tell me the very first thing you should do in the second row. Read the question. Very good. Okay. Read the question. And the reason you're doing this is because you're establishing a purpose for reading. Okay. I like to use the analogy of going to the grocery store. If I go to the grocery store without a list, I just buy random things off the shelf and I end up with a lot of stuff I don't need. Right? So I don't want to read the document without having a game plan for what I'm looking for. Okay. So as you are reading the question, pay attention to any clue words and try to understand what the question is asking. Okay. Sometimes there are wrong answer choices that look right because you've misunderstood the question. Okay. So you almost kind of want to translate it in your head. The second step is that you then want to actively read the document. And what I mean by actively reading is now you're reading with a purpose. You know what you're looking for. You're not going in blind, right? And that includes the sourcing information. I would actually recommend that you read the sourcing information in the title before you read the document so that you already know who the source is and be thinking about how that might be impacting what's being stated in the document. All right. You can physically highlight things in Blue Book. There is an annotation tool. So if that is helpful for you, you can use that, or you can just kind of mentally highlight what is relevant to the question you're looking for. Okay. The other thing that I've recommended to my students is as you're reading a document, be thinking about what the historical context of that document is. What time period is it, right? What place is being talked about. And the reason that's helpful is because by activating that prior knowledge you have, when you look at the answer choices, that's really going to help you with the next step, which is process of elimination. So think about what you know about that document's time period as you go into looking at the answer choices. Okay. And your final step in your 3-part process, guys, come on in quietly and have a seat, is what I like to call PO, process of elimination. Okay. So you're going to eliminate anything that might be from the wrong time period, the wrong place, or just the wrong topic from what you have determined based on your reading of that document. We're just going to give all these guys a chance to come in and get settled.
Okay, let's go. Guys, come on, hurry up. All right, those who just came in, real quick, we're tackling the MCQs right now. Multiple choice questions. Okay. Guys, come on. All right, there's more seats over here. Okay, hey, like I said before, to all the students who just walked in, use this time efficiently. Okay, do not use this time as a social gathering. If you're taking notes, that's great. Okay, but today we're talking about how to tackle risk. Come on. The MCQ, multiple choice questions, strategies. All right, on how to best tackle the MCQs. Okay, so again, how many questions? 55. Good. How much time? 55. So each question, you're gonna get how much time? Okay, good. Okay. Again, tips and strategies.
All right. So just to recap what we just went over, when you approach a multiple choice question set, you're going to read the question, figure out what it's asking, then read the document, make sure you read that sourcing information, and then you're going to use the process of elimination to choose the best answer. We know that sometimes wrong answers can be factually correct, but they're just not the right or the best answer to that particular question. Okay?
Remember, 40% today is dedicated to the MCQs right now. So this is why all of your teachers are heavy with the content. We want you to see that multiple choice question and feel comfortable that your instructor covered it. Okay. If it was a week, it was a week and a half, it was 2 days, you feel comfortable with that knowledge. And so you use these tips and tools, process of elimination, to come up with that best answer.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage you guys to stick with the strategy. All right. Sometimes you can get stuck on a question and you just keep mulling it over in your head. You don't have time to do that, right? Think of it as like the shot clock is on and you have to take the shot. So you, just like in athletics, you are relying on your technique and strategies, and the technique and strategies are going to get you through it. Okay. That's my only sports analogy, I promise. Okay. So let's practice this. This is an actual question. So first we want to actively read it, kind of translate in your head. The image can best be used as a source of information about the. What is that question basically asking? Anybody want to give that a shot? Raise your hand if you know what that question is asking. Yeah, Gus. Yeah, like what's going on here? What is this source about? What's the historical context? So here is the image. Hopefully you guys can somewhat see that. Read the title, read the source, look at the details in the image. Okay.
When we're briefly looking at images, what are some things that we are looking for? What are some things that can stand out of that image that can give you, all right, the time period, that can maybe give you the event, the broader historical context? What are we looking for in these images?
Go ahead, Aiden. The sourcing. So what does this source tell you about what time period this might be?
1280.
There you go.
Good, the source.
1280.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the front. Absolutely. The style of painting is you're going to see it's going to be really important in one of these questions. Is there any other information that's listed above or below the picture that seems very relevant in the back? It's by a Chinese court painter. It's in the Yuan dynasty. Yep. What does the caption tell us? Okay, that's really important. It's a Chinese Confucian scholar. And when you look at the image, what is the scholar doing? Yeah. He's being served by some ladies, right? And he's just kind of kicking back, enjoying life, right? So let's take a look now at our answer choices. The image can best be used as a source of information about, so we're going to do process of elimination, the social prestige of established educated elites in Chinese society under Mongol rule. Do we want to keep that or get rid of it? Keep it. Why? I heard one get rid of. Why do we want, someone tell me why we want to keep this? Why does this answer choice sound good to you? Yeah, JR. The man is being served, right? So it seems like he has a high social status. So let's keep it.
And you see words like what?
What else?
Prestige, right? You see elite. And so that's what we quickly took from that picture.
All right. Letter B, influence of Christian missionaries in Mongol-controlled China. Was there anything in that image about Christian missionaries? No, so we get rid of that one. Letter C, high status of wealthy merchants in traditional society. What might lure you to keep this in the front row? It says something about high wealthy status, but what might make you think, nah, I'm going to get rid of it? Go ahead. He's not a merchant. He's a Confucian scholar. All right. Letter D, increased importance of Mongol Buddhism and shamanism on Chinese society under Yuan rule. In the back, I see a hand. So, sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
Okay, so he's talking about the incorrect time period.
Incorrect time period. Okay. Also, does the painting show anything about Buddhism or shamanism? No. All right. So the correct answer here is A, the social prestige of established educated elites in Chinese society under Mongol rule. Okay. All right. Let's look at the second question. Now, each MCQ set has 3 questions that go with it, right? And so you don't really have to go back and read the document usually. Sometimes it'll point you to like a specific paragraph and maybe you want to go back, but only reread the document if absolutely necessary. So here's question 2. Which of the following historical continuities is best reflected in the image? What's this question really asking you? Yes. How did things in history stay the same? So something that happened before this is similar to what's going on in this painting. Okay, let's look at our answer choices and see what we can eliminate. Chinese art reflected European methods of painting. So in the front row over here, you talked about the style of the painting, right? Was that a European style painting? Probably not, so let's get rid of that. Chinese art continued to emphasize traditional subjects and styles. That painting seems pretty traditional, right? So let's hold on to that. Chinese art incorporated elements of Central Asian nomadic life. Were there any nomads in the painting? Nope. Chinese art continued to stress the importance of technological innovation. Any technology in the painting? No. So our correct answer is B. It shows the continuity of traditional art and subjects.
But you had to kind of shorten down, you had to eliminate C and D, correct? Okay, because there were 2 key words in C and D that gave it away. Okay, so your method, your technique now, is differentiating between A and B, correct? Yeah. And you feel pretty good about one. Again, it's just like explaining, using the process of elimination, identifying keywords, reading the actual question, second subset, but seeing that keyword right there, continuity. That's the big word right there. That's the best answer to that question.
Yeah, and if you're not sure, like if you read A and you're like, I'm not sure if that's European style painting, should you keep it or get rid of it? Keep it, because you're not sure yet. Read all the other answer choices, and then you've got it narrowed down to A and B, and now you can make a good educated guess, right? So if you're not sure about an answer, always keep it until you've read through everything, okay?
Yeah, what can you do on a question like this? Where can you get on down going back? A, B, C, down correct. Where can you start with that? Right, and I always say you overthink the question. Don't overthink. Okay, now Will, I've been 21 years. We can overthink on many aspects. You feel confident about what that question is asking. You feel confident about that course. All right, take that process of elimination, and yeah, don't let that voice on your shoulder talk you out of how you feel about that question.
Yeah, when I've had students who go back, there's certain students who always go back and look at certain questions and they go, I don't know, I think I'm going to change it. Most of the time, your gut is right. Go with your initial answer. Most of the time, that's going to be helpful, okay? Because what's happening there is you're overthinking it. Okay, this is the last question for that document. In addition to China, the cultural tradition alluded to in Liu Guanduao's painting strongly influenced the society and culture of? So before we look at the answer choices, what is the cultural tradition that is being alluded to in this document? Sir? Patriarchal, that could be a possibility. Any other? What other cultural tradition, Aiden, do you see? Confucianism, which is a really big part of Chinese culture, right? So let's look at our answer choices now. We have to pick a place that was also influenced by either the patriarchy or Confucianism, whatever we think is more relevant in this painting. What do you guys think we should get rid of? Ottoman Empire? India? Okay, raise your hand if you explain to me what the right answer is and why it's the right answer. Anybody? Brave souls? Yeah, Pepe. Yeah, geographically, that makes the most sense, right? That Korea is going to be heavily influenced by the culture of China. And also, you know, just thinking of the geography of that area, that is also why Japan gets influenced, because Korea acts as a land bridge for culture from China to Japan. So that whole area, we're going to see the influence of certain cultural ideas.
Now, what are the words that you would underline? Help ask the answer to the question. What are the words? Strong influence. Okay, so we're looking at strong influence. Cultural tradition, okay, and geographically, what do you look at?
Yeah, okay. All right, so that is it in terms of multiple choice strategies. So I want to now take you through some short answer question strategies, and all right, and then we're going to do some practice problems. Okay, so SAQs, who can tell me, raise your hand if you can tell me how many SAQs there are. This gets a bit tricky. Ronan. There are 3, and in each question, there are how many questions? 3, right? So there are 3 sets, each with 3 questions. Raise your hand if you know how much time you have to answer all of these in the back. 40 minutes. So that means approximately you should spend how much time on each set? Raise your hand if you know how much, way in the corner there. About 13 minutes, right? And this portion of the test is worth 20% of the overall grade. So it's half as valuable as the multiple choice, but still important, right? Yeah, that's a lot, right? Okay. So there are different types of SAQ questions you'll see. So each set is like a different type of question. The question 1 is always going to be on a secondary source. Raise your hand if you can tell me what that means. What's a secondary source? What is a secondary source? Oh, somebody knows this.
Big Red, what's the secondary?
Who would it be by? Who would a secondary source be by, JR? Yeah. Right. So the main differentiation you guys need to know between primary and secondary is primary is someone who was there at the event and experienced it, right? Secondary is someone who's writing about it after the fact, okay? So generally you're going to get a historian's account for question 1. Question 2 is always going to be a primary source. It could be a text document, it could be an image. And then you get to choose between question 3 or question 4. These are no stimulus. That means there's no document. They just ask you 3 questions, okay? And they're related to a time period. So question 3 will always be a question related to 1250 through 1750. So if the earlier history is your strong suit, question 3 is probably going to be for you, okay?
What is the student? So
yep.
Looking at the prior document that painting that we looked at, is that a primary or secondary?
Primary, that's right. The painting was a primary source. Very good. Okay, so what is our strategy going to be to approach an SAQ? To make sure you get the full number of points, you want to make sure that you answer the question and explain it thoroughly so that the reader understands what you're trying to communicate, right? Make sure you answer all parts of the question. So each question has 3 parts, A, B, and C. You just get a text box to write your answers in. So you want to make sure you label the parts of your answer, A, B, and C, so that the reader knows what part of the question you're answering, okay? Your answers must be in complete sentences. You cannot make a list or bullets. That's not going to count. You're not going to get points, okay? So what I've been using with my students, and if this works for you, great, is an acronym called ACE, right? And ACE tells us what we need to do every time we answer a question. So the first thing we need to do is answer the question with a claim. So make a claim that answers the question. And I also encourage my students to use the language of the question. So if the question's asking me, what is one example of a cultural exchange? I'm going to start my answer. One example of a cultural exchange is, so that it's very clear to the reader that I am on task, because you got to remember, these readers are reading like hundreds of these a day and they get tired. And so we want to make it as easy for them as possible to see that we're answering the question. Okay. C stands for site-specific historical evidence, right? So you want a specific example to support your claim. And then E stands for explain. Explain how your evidence supports your claim. Okay, you're going to do ACE for every part of the question. So that means every part of your question is going to be 2 to 3 sentences long, right? Because as I've discussed with my students, sometimes when you're doing ACE, it really makes sense to have 3 sentences. And sometimes it kind of seems redundant. It just sort of depends on what the question's asking and also how you write your sentences. Because some of us can pack a lot of information in a sentence and others of us need a couple sentences to do the same thing, right? Okay, everybody good here? Okay, so let's take a look at this document. I've been talking a lot, so can somebody read the sourcing information and the first paragraph for us? Nice and loud. I need a big loud voice. Yes, go for it. Yep. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So basically, what's this historian arguing? Can anybody kind of summarize in one statement? Yeah. Well, they get more credit, right? The sedentary societies get all this credit for cultural exchange, but this historian's arguing that nomadic cultures were really important in doing cultural exchange, right? So let's take a look at the questions they want us to answer. Okay, question A, identify one specific historical example of a cultural exchange between nomads and non-nomads that occurred in the period before 1450. One example of a cultural exchange. So just think about that a moment, right? Can you think of an example before 1450 of a cultural exchange between nomads and non-nomads? In the front?
Travel around Africa to these established empires and kingdoms and create kind of his like cultural impact there.
Okay.
Other cultural
Other examples? Silk Road. Okay, good. 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 And can it, yep. Okay. Yeah, good. So you guys are thinking of the right places and the right nomads. They want an example of something like a cultural artifact or something that was exchanged, right? So I'm going to show you guys an example in a minute. So that's the first question. Question B is, for the period 1450 to 1750, identify one development that changed the role that Central Asian nomads played in the cross-regional exchanges as described in the passage. So what's going on between 1450 and 1750 that might change the role that Central Asian nomads play? Yeah. Well, I think yeah, maybe, but the Silk Roads, the nomads are participating in that trade, right? So what's something else that's going on that's changing that role that they're playing as carriers of culture? Yeah. Maritime trade? Yeah, because the nomads aren't participating in that, right? They are participating in the Silk Road trade, but not the maritime trade, right? And let's look at letter C. Explain one cross-cultural exchange that would challenge the assertion in the last sentence of the passage concerning the nomads' role in cross-regional exchanges before 1450. So in the last sentence, he says that they were the chief initiators, promoters, and agents of this cultural exchange between East and West. Like the nomads were the most important, not the societies that were stationary or sedentary. Right?
This historian giving a ton of credit to the perspective, and also all of the traders, nomads, who are expanding. Think what was travel along these roads? Religion, right? What else was travel on these roads? Culture.
Technology, yeah. Yeah. So question C wants us to think of an example that would challenge what this author is saying. Like, yeah, the nomads, not that important. This sedentary society, really important. All right. Can anyone think of any examples that might challenge what he's saying here about the importance of the nomads? All right. Let's look at some examples then. Now, I took these, I didn't make these answers up. I took these from the College Board actually puts old questions up online, and they put student responses, and you can see like, okay, this student got all the points. So I basically went online and found student responses that got all the points. They got full credit because I want you guys to see what it really looks like for a student to do this, not me.
Okay, if you look at B, it's asking, all right, give one development described in the passage. Yes, use your outside knowledge, right, when you've done this here. But again, there are examples to describe in the passage.
All right, so this is a student response for question 1 that got all the points, okay? And I've color-coded it so you can see that they are doing ACE. One example of a cultural exchange between nomads and non-nomads before 1450 was the exchange of gunpowder. This is what I mean about being specific. What's a specific example of culture that was exchanged? Gunpowder was used in the non-nomadic Tang and Song dynasties, right? So there's, again, citing some specific evidence here. However, when the Mongols arose and conquered various expanses of land in Central Asia and Eastern Europe, gunpowder spread to places like the Abbasid Empire, which was non-nomadic, right? So somebody had said earlier that the Mongols were important when they conquered China. Yeah, these nomads in conquering lands helped to spread these goods, right? These cultural artifacts, okay? I made a note here on the left side that some questions will ask you about evidence from the text, where you can actually pull an example from the text. If they're asking about like, what's the author's claim or main idea, then you probably are gonna pull that evidence from the text. But a lot of the times, most of the time, you're being asked for outside information, something that's not already in the document. As in this case, this person talked about gunpowder, which is not in the document, okay? All right, let's look at question 2, or sorry, letter B. The age of exploration changed the role of Central Asian nomads. So somebody over here said maritime trade, right? Very good. Okay. Sea-based trade, especially within the Indian Ocean basin, became more prominent, and Central Asian nomads didn't have access to this network. Because of this, Europeans such as the Dutch and the Portuguese began to dominate trade, and therefore cross-regional cultural exchanges occurred through Europeans. Okay, so this is showing a change, a shift from how important nomads were, like in the Silk Road, to now Europeans becoming more important in cross-cultural exchanges.
It is. That's what we're saying. It's citing specific examples. You see the date 1450 to 1750. When we think of the age of exploration, what is the start of it?
Ocean blue. Yeah, and when you see those time frames, like those historical periods should click in your head, right? When I see 1450 to 1750, I automatically think age of exploration, right? Okay, letter C. One cross-cultural exchange that would challenge the author's claim. Arab traders played a large role in cross-regional cultural exchanges before 1450. The Islamic Empire spanned Afro-Eurasia, dominating both the Silk Road and the Indian Ocean trade. While they were not nomadic, they contributed to the spread of the decimal system from India, which is why it's now referred to as Arabic numerals. Okay, be specific, explain your answer.
This student not BS way, right? By all our club won't BS away. That reader, like you said, are reading hundreds. They have these FAQs. You want to be specific, you want to get to the point.
Yeah.
Again, show the reader what you want to see, right?
Yeah, show it off. All right. Any questions about multiple choice or SAQ strategies? Okay. So before I turn it over to Mr. Lyon, I want to show you guys a couple other resources. All right. The AP, the College Board, is going to be posting each week different videos that you can access through the AP Classroom. Okay. So Mr. Zucker made a instructional video. It's very short, so I'm going to show it to you now, that shows you where to find those videos, because every week between now and the test, they're going to release new ones, and this will be a good study tool. Okay.
Hey guys, wanted to make sure you a quick Zoom video
about a new resource that's come out from the AP College Board leading up to the AP exam. This is a great new resource for you guys to get ready for your upcoming exams. It's at the exact same place for AP World and AP US History. So I'm going to share my screen and show you where you can find both US History and AP World History. So we're going to share my screen here. I'm going to start up with AP US History. Skip that part. Okay. All you have to do is come here to the left-hand side where it says the course resources. And when you open that up, down at the bottom, you're going to notice that it says review. Click on that button, and you're going to notice that they have review for 2021, 2022, and 2023. On-demand review. All you have to do is click on the down arrow, and you're going to have these AP daily videos that cover everything from MCQs to LEQs, to SAQs to DBQs. Now you might be wondering, okay, now if I'm going to watch these things, how long are they? Well, when you take a look, you notice that these are like 11 minutes long, and you don't have to watch all of them. You can be strategic on which ones you really want to get some information on. So what does it look like when you watch one? Well, here's an example. Okay, if you want to try the questions before we go into the answers, you can download them in the description box. So they actually have practice questions that you can do, and then this video is going to go over the answers with you. Okay, you'll also notice that these are real AP teachers who are working with this material. So that's basically all there is. Now, if you're an AP World History student, you basically do the same thing. right? You go under course resources and you click on that. It's going to show you that.
And we all know how to access the college board, am I correct?
AP Classroom. So, right, so you go to review, open up the 2023 on-demand videos, and then you can select which video you want to watch. Okay. All right, so it's very easy to find these. They put up 4 videos this week, and they'll put up additional ones next week. The other resource I want to share with you, this is a website. It's called Socialist Studio. Weebly.com, and he's got a lot of different classes, so just make sure you pick the AP World Modern History. What I like about how he's set this up, first of all, he's got a countdown. That's how many days until the test. Crazy, right? And then if you scroll down, he has every unit organized. So let's say you want to review unit 1, you click on it. He goes through like the learning objective for each subtopic, some key information. He's bolded the key terms that you need to know. So if you're like, what terms do I need to know? Those are the terms you need to know. And then for each section, they have a video. Some of them are crash course videos. Some of them are Heimler's history videos, right? And they're between 5 and 10 minutes long.
This is big, yeah.
So this has got a lot of great information. It goes through Islam, Christianity, like pretty much everything you need to know in every unit. So this is organized really nicely. If you want to do, you know, 1 unit every couple days, this will take you through and do a nice review for you. Okay.